Hey everyone, welcome back to RJK English and to our review of Siddhartha. This is our RJK English Facebook page. You're welcome to visit and have further conversations with us. Someone asked who these guys are. These are my Kashmiri friends. This is Muzaffar, one of my best friends. And we have all of our videos and we cover other things about English on here as well. So let's continue. Okay, if you watched the previous video, I went over the Upanishads and things about Satya and Atman and Brahman. If you're not interested in those things, that's fine. We're going to keep reading right now, but we're going to go into the Upanishads. As we learned before, the Upanishads are a commentary on the ancient Vedas, and the basic teaching, which we'll see here, is that there is a world soul, and our souls are part of that world. That is Brahman, and our individual soul is Atman. But in this book, he uses Atman, capital A, for Brahman. It means the world soul, and his soul is connected. That's what he's saying here, is that he wants to find that. So we know that Siddhartha wasn't happy, and now he's going to go and become an ascetic or renunciant in the forest. Okay, let's continue. Many verses of the holy books, above all the Upanishads of Samaveda, spoke of this innermost thing. It is written, your soul is the whole world. It says that when a man is asleep, he penetrates his innermost and dwells in Atman. There was wonderful wisdom in these verses. All the knowledge of the sages was told here in enchanting language, pure as honey collected by the bees. No, this tremendous amount of knowledge, collected and preserved by successive generations of wise Brahmins, could not be easily overlooked. But where were the Brahmins, the priests, the wise men, who were successful not only in having this most profound knowledge, but in experiencing it? Where were the initiated who, attaining Atman and sleep, could retain it in consciousness, in life, everywhere, in speech, in action? Siddhartha knew many worthy Brahmins, above all his father, holy, learned, of high esteem. His father was worthy of admiration. His manner was quiet and noble. He lived a good life. His words were wise, fine, and noble thoughts dwelt in his head. But even he who knew so much, did he live in bliss? Was he at peace? Was he not also a seeker insatiable? Did he not go continually to the holy springs with an insatiable thirst, to the sacrifices, to books, to the Brahmins' discourses? Why must he, the blameless one, talking about his father still, the blameless one, wash away his own sins and endeavor to cleanse himself anew each day? Was Atman then not within him? Was not then the source within his own heart? One must find the source within one's own self. One must possess it. Everything else was seeking, a detour, an error. These were Siddhartha's thoughts. This was his thirst, his sorrow. So, the teachings are here, what he is realizing. It is written, your soul is the whole world. Your soul inside is the whole world. Atman is inside you. Atman is part of the world's soul. There was wonderful wisdom in this verse. What did it teach? It taught that one could directly access God or Brahman. And what does he show as different than this? He shows that Brahmins, meaning the people of the caste of Brahmin, had a tremendous amount of knowledge, a lot of knowledge. This knowledge was collected and preserved by successive generations, meaning generation after generation of their ancestors. And these were wise people. They could not easily be overlooked. This means we don't just throw them away. They're very smart. We can't just ignore that. We have to notice that they're very smart. But where were those that experienced this knowledge. Remember, there's an idea of knowledge and there's an idea of experience. In Buddhism and in the Upanishads, there's this idea that language is a trap. Language is just knowledge. Experience is something different. You'll know this regarding love. It's one thing to know about love, to read books about it. When you fall in love, maybe it's after you get married and you're with that person and you grow to love them, or maybe it's when you have met someone and you fall in love with them. Then you know something you didn't know before. Rumi, the poet Rumi, R-U-M-I, talks about this. The direct experience of God. Not talking about it, not reading about it in books, but experiencing it directly. Okay? So if the soul is connected to the world, to this world soul, Brahman, then how do you find Brahman? You can look inside. But Brahman is also outside, so you have to look outside as well. And what do the Upanishads call someone to do? They call them to change their life and seek truth. Truth is satya, truth. So this is what Siddhartha is talking about. He's talking about there's these great Brahmins and his father, and then he describes his father, how noble he is, how wise he is, and even that he might be blameless. Maybe he's never seen his father do something wrong. And he asks, if his father is blameless, why does he daily have to go and do ablutions and wash his sin away? Why does he have to cleanse himself? Why does he have to do these rituals? He says, is Atman not himself in him? Is Atman not in him? Isn't the source of truth inside of him? So why does he have to do all these rituals? He wants to find someone who knows Brahman directly. His sorrow was that with all the love he has in his village, with all the love he has from being a very beautiful person, physically beautiful, and knowing all the right things to do and being the best of his kind, meaning the best of the Brahmins, the best of the priests, he seems to be the best of. He's still unhappy. And it's because he knows there's this ultimate truth that everybody will experience pain. Everybody has sin. You know, as he explains, I don't think it's exactly like Christianity. But there's this ultimate truth and he wants to find it. It's bothering him. So these were Siddhartha's thoughts, and this was his thirst. He's thirsty for this knowledge, and this was his sorrow. So he often repeated to himself the words of the Chandogya Upanishads. These are particular Upanishads. In truth, the name of Brahman is Satya. What is Satya? Truth. The name of Brahman, the world soul, Atman, is truth, Satya. Indeed, he who knows it enters the heavenly world each day. He who knows truth enters the heavenly world each day. Does he see people who enter the heavenly world each day? No. So maybe they don't know Brahman. Maybe they don't really know the truth. They know some, but maybe they don't know all of it. It often seemed neat, the heavenly world, but never had he quite reached it. Never had he quenched the final thirst. And among the wise men, this is a mistype. It often seemed near to him, the heavenly world, but never had he quite reached it. Never had he quenched the final thirst. And among the wise men that he knew and whose teachings he enjoyed, there was not one who had entirely reached it, the heavenly world. Not one who had completely quenched the eternal thirst. Is he thinking of heaven like Christianity, where it's up in the sky? Or even in Islam? No, he's thinking that you have heaven inside of yourself, but these people haven't reached it. They haven't quenched the eternal thirst. Govinda, said Siddhartha to his friend, Govinda, come with me to the banyan tree. We will practice meditation. Then they went to the banyan tree and sat down 20 paces apart. And he sat down ready to pronounce the Om. Om. This is the sound, the basis of all reality. Om. Siddhartha softly recited the verse. Om is the bow, the arrow of the soul. The bow and the arrow. Om is the bow. Om. And the arrow is the soul. Brahman is the arrow's goal, the target, at which one aims unflinchingly. Om is the bow. Om. The arrow is the soul, the Atman. And Brahman is the arrow's goal, at which one aims unflinchingly. He said this over and over, right? But he realizes what he said doesn't match the way they're acting. When the customary time for the practice of meditation had passed, Govinda rose. It was now evening. It was time to perform the evening ablutions, the washing. He called Siddhartha by his name. He did not reply. Who is he? He is Siddhartha. Siddhartha didn't reply. Siddhartha sat absorbed, his eyes staring as if directed at a distant goal. The tip of his tongue showing a little in his teeth. He did not seem to be breathing. He sat thus, lost in meditation, thinking Om, Om, his soul as an arrow directed towards Brahman. So, we all have experienced this, right? When we come of age and we're not happy in our town. Hesse is combining these two things. The need for the young person to go out and the need to find truth. He's combining them both. And this creates a dramatic effect. And often this is how koans work, K-O-A-N, and mysteries in religion. You'll mention something that everybody knows, and then you'll say, truth is like that. So they mention everything that we have experienced. When we get to 17 and 18 and we want to go out into the world, we've all experienced it. And he says, that's what it's like to seek truth. Okay, so now we're feeling it. Some Samanas, remember it's not Samanas, it's Shramanas. They are renunciants. They starve themselves, they do yoga, very extreme things in order to get out of this body and into God. Some Shramanas once passed through Siddhartha's town. Wandering ascetics, they were three thin, worn out men, neither old nor young, with dusty and bleeding shoulders, practically naked. Practically means almost basically naked. Maybe they have a little loincloth. Scorched by the sun, solitary, alone, strange and hostile. Can you imagine these people? Wandering ascetics. They were three thin, worn-out men. They didn't look old, they didn't look young. You couldn't tell their age. They were dusty, with bleeding shoulders, practically naked, scorched by the sun, solitary, strange, and hostile. Lean jackals like hungry wolves. Lean jackals in the world of men. Around them hovered an atmosphere, an aura of still passion, of devastating service, of unpitying self-denial. Notice the adjectives he's using here. These don't usually go together. Service is not usually devastating. Self-denial is not usually unpitying. And passion is not still. Passion is active. But they are denying their body because they want something. They are serving because they want something else. They almost don't see the people around them. They are God-focused people. Around them hovered an atmosphere that was strange, a still passion, a devastating service, and an unpitying self-denial. We learned in the last video, if you're interested, go back to the last video, that the Shramanas are the other side of the old Brahmin society or the Hindu society. The Hindu people that are in caste, they are part of society. They are in a caste, they have a family, they're not an individual, they are part of the whole. The Shramanas are outside of that. That's why often in Indian scriptures, the hero goes out into the wilderness. They go outside of civilized world into the wilderness. You'll see this in the Ramayana. The Ramayana. You'll see Ram do this. Go into the wilderness. And the Buddha did the same. So they go into the wilderness because they're leaving society and they're seeking themselves. Okay? And so they become not part of society anymore. And in a way, they're strange. This is what we think when we see homeless people. Homeless people aren't part of society, are they? And we almost feel odd dealing with them because these people don't have the same rules. They are outside of society. It's similar here. So we're going to stop here. And we're going to start next time because we've been talking for a long time now. Make sure to like and comment and subscribe. Share this with a friend. And let's meet next time to go over the rest of it. And we'll finish this chapter. All right? See you next time.